Peace and love to you all.
Hi. Loud, testing. Okay. My name's Stuart Russell. For all those who know me or don't know me, I'm otherwise known as Edge or Echelonic on Skype. I know you either love me or hate me. I don't take any prisoners. Cue me. What do you want me to talk about? I've been doing some work in Ireland at the moment and having great success there, whereby the people are very kind to me. They asked me to go over there, so I went over there, sorted some cases out, and we've had 3 wins, which are good. One particular case is on a property which is on something called fee simple land. And fee simple land is sort of below allodial, which the church has, yet above freehold. And this colleague of mine was having terrible problems when somebody put in a complaint about a gate on his land. So I dragged the deeds out, which went back to 1758, beautifully handwritten deeds. Anyway, I thought this was going to take 3 days. 29 days later, we construct a document for the council. And somebody put in a complaint that it was blocking his right of way. And he'd poured 10 grand into fighting this gate on his property. So the conclusion of what came up was, there was a similar case called Lizardale, whereby there were 4 rights of way on the land, and they took it to court, and the judge awarded them 3 rights of way, because there was no deed of there was no presentment, because you have to do a presentment for a public right of way. Then there has to be a deed of assignment, and then there has to be a deed of dedication that it would be a public walkthrough. So anyway, the costs came to 6 million. And the judge said, well, I can award you 3 roads, I can't award you the other one, because that's a road along by the sea, and that could have been there hundreds of years. So they accepted that. Then they hit the council for a counterclaim. And this case, finally, after one I was doing with him, is 98% the same. The barristers then came back with a counter-action against the council, Sligo Council, you can check it's on the net, for 30 million. So I said to these people, the question is, it's not a question of how long the gate's been there, given that on the deeds there's been a mill there since 1700. And this is obviously a right of way, but exclusive to the mill, when it used to be used for grinding corn and wheat for a flour mill. So there was no dispute about it being a public right of way, because it was clear that the lease was only for a private enterprise, servicing the suppliers and the clients of the mill. So we then looked under the Registration of Titles Act 1964, section 67. And in that it says, the state is not allowed to come on the land. So I said, well, that's very interesting. And at the bottom of this piece of land, there's a road going through it, through the fee simple land. So I said, well, given that that road's going through your fee simple land, and there's no deed of presentation, there's no deed of assignment, and there's no deed of dedication, therefore, given that the council have been using this piece of road, using public money to pay for the tar on it, and been collecting revenue on your land without permission, I would say that they owe you a profit El Prendre, it's called.
Say that again?
Prophet El Prendre. P-R-E-N-D-R-E. Excuse my pronunciation. For practicing commerce on your land since road tax began. On top of that, given that there's a trespass going on, and they put street furniture on this land of yours, claiming that this private road to your estate is subject to their regulations, and given that they're not allowed to come on the land, therefore, what we're going to do is tell the council that they agree, by tacit agreement and acquiescence, to pay €100 a day for every street sign that they put onto the land without permission. So as you can imagine, given what happened at Lizardale, and it's the same situation, we've now got the council in a position of checkmate. And I've got to go back shortly, and hopefully we're going to negotiate a fee for 10 years of harassment, unlawful and illegal, to the tune of, well, it's going to cost $6 million if you want to defend it, not to mention the claim from Lizardale, so we'll settle for something between 2 and 3 million. That's one other thing going on. And at the end of the day, it's very easy to have fear of these entities and their nefarious activities. So to ground you back into a position where you get your authority back or your self-empowerment, you must never forget that the arrangement that we live under is a trust. Right? We're the grantors of the trust. We elect them into power as trustees of the estate in trust, and we're the beneficiaries. We never gave them permission to administer the people. They work for us. We are not answerable to them. They're answerable to us. And selling off all this property and everything else, and there's a place going on where I'm living now, they want to sell the adult community centre. And I'm thinking to myself, well, hold on a minute. The adult community centre provides value. And that's the key word here. If they sell it off to a property developer, it provides value in terms of fiat currency for the developers. That's not long-term value. And we really need to get in touch with this value and fight our cases for the benefit of what's in it for all of us, rather than what's in it for the benefit of the developer.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I keep hearing of cases where developers have bought flats of land for £1.
Yeah.
How is that done?
Well, funnily enough, I was speaking to a colleague of mine last night about this. Not that I can remember much, but anyway. He said that there's a policy between government entities whereby they can do that under a commercial agreement. Because I'm doing a probate case for somebody at the moment. I said, look, what's going on here? You just had the evaluation. By the time they come in, strip their costs out of it, etc., etc., there's not going to be a lot left in the sense. The property's worth 2.4 million. A friend of mine inherited it from a mother who died. So, Her Majesty's Revenue is saying, you can't have the deed of assignment, the deed of administration, until you've had a valuation done and you've paid 10% to Her Majesty's Revenue. And you're talking, you know, 100, 200 grand up front before they give you the deed, which is coercion. And I said, well, what it would be the case if you didn't want to sell the property, or you could sell it for £1 into a trust. And the position we were left with was, you can't do that because you're a private individual. Now, the question is, are you a private individual in this case, or are you a strawman in this case in a corporation? Yeah, and this is, you know, one of the anomalies we're coming up with at the moment. It's not an easy one. You know, personally, why should somebody, in my reality, why should somebody pay tax on a profit, on a property that is on a guesstimated market? Because at the time it was purchased, it was something like 25,000. You know, and another scam that they do is that there was a 95-year lease on this property, and they came in, the new purchase, and said, "Oh, would you like to extend your lease?" So she said, "Yeah, we'll have another 20 years, and you know, they'll make it 115 or 125 years long." What she didn't realise, by taking the extension when it's already got 95 years on it, was that you're contracting with the new party. And by contracting with the new party, you lose all your rights under the original lease. Right? So watch that one. You know, there's dodginess everywhere.
And also, if you are going to go for an extension, then why go for 25 years, why not go 999 years?
Why don't you go for 1,000 years?
Well, because they don't do that, they do 999.
Why don't they do 1,000?
I don't know, I just remember
Because
that.
if they do it for 1,000 years, it becomes a freehold.
And they can't give you the freehold, right? So that's just the thing, if you're going to pay, because they charge you to extend as well.
Yeah, they charge you to extend. But the trick is not the morsel they're offering you. The trick is to entrap you into a contract which overrides your rights that you already had. And people don't say, yes, I conditionally accept. Because it's all, and everything is always about conditional acceptance. Another one in Ireland recently. This guy had 2 roofs blown off his building. So he went to the insurance company, went to court, and the court said, we can't do anything about it because it's an act of God. So he said, okay, I conditionally accept that. So he went down to the church and he said to the vicar, he said, are you the representative of God? He says, of course I am. He says, well, there's your bill. And he paid it. Because he couldn't deny he wasn't the representative of God. Yes, I like that one.
What's the name of the case?
I don't know, no, I can find out for you. Yeah. There's some funny stuff goes on in Ireland. There's a speeding case I'm on as well. And you'll never believe this one. So, let's say that the screen is a jut out in the road, and just below it there's a roundabout. So this friend of mine comes around the roundabout, got to go around the jut, and just as he gets around the jut, there's a guardie, police, sitting there. Now bear in mind that they've stopped him 13 times in the last year. So, we get in the court, I do some quick research, and I get this stuff called slip. Slip is when the laser gun slips off the bonnet and it's responsible for 5 million unsafe convictions. So we present it to the judge, and the judge realises he can't rule on this. Because if he rules on this, it creates a precedent right through Ireland. So he says, however, I'm going to have to grant you an appeal. Fantastic. So he grants the appeal. And it just turns out that this guardie's got impaired vision. It's 7 o'clock on a December night, pitch black, raining. However, he managed to spot the car doing 86 miles an hour in 218 yards. Now, I don't know if anybody knows what it's like on a zoom camera. If you zoom in and you move the camera half an inch here, it's 10 foot at that end. Right? So I did the calculation, and I got onto the performance of the car on the net, and it worked out that this car would take, bearing in mind it was 86 kilometres an hour and 218 yards, this car wouldn't get to 60 for 325 yards. Right? And there's no photographic evidence apart from when he got out of the car and he asked to take a picture of the device. Unfortunately, there was a car in the background 50 yards behind and you couldn't read the registration. So how he read it at 218 yards is anybody's guess. So it worked out that to be doing 86 kilometres an hour in that space, you would need 525 yards. So clearly a stitch up. And you've really got to do your due diligence and look for these kind of loopholes in whatever case you're involved in. And they're there. This friend of mine I was speaking with last night, he's my colleague in the GOI, the governance of yourself, thegoi.net. And, you know, Phil Qualborough, whoever knows him here, genius, really knows his stuff. He was saying to me last night, he was saying, Stu, you need to read the Book of Chaos. I said, why is that? He says, because what you're looking for is the not. Right? He says, do you realise, my daughter, she's 4 years old, I've been claiming unemployment for her for 3 years. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, I register as unemployed. She's willing to work, but nobody will employ her because she's underage. Because there's nothing in the book saying, you know, if you can't get any money at a certain age. And what can I say? You know? I don't know. Prompt me. What else? But at the moment, I'm looking at doing a tour in Ireland, and I've written up I've got 114. It's not quite a nice number. I'll sort of round it off to 120 or 150. Strategic litigant in person objections of when a judge throws you a curveball, how to throw the curveball back. And then I'm doing another one which is on actionable offences against them. For example, criminal dishonesty. You know, if I give you a book, you don't bring it back, you could say it's dishonesty. It's not criminal though. When you have the element of criminal dishonesty, and there's all those other things, you can get them on malfeasance in office. Willful misconduct is another good one, which has 3 terms. Knowingly doing something you shouldn't do, not doing something knowing you that you should do it, not being bothered whether doing it or not doing it matters. Right? So there's a whole load of those I'm going through in those. And it's important that when you're in situations with these, want of a better word, that you learn how to use the 180 to turn it back on them by a conditional acceptance. And a conditional acceptance, for those who don't know, is I did one on the judge the other day, and he chucked me in the back of the room. A friend at the back here. The judge said, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with him. He looks medically fit to me, and you can't get his papers, but I think he's okay. I said, I conditionally accept, subject to proof of claim, that you're medically qualified to make that determination, sir, with all due respect. Of course, he didn't like that because he couldn't get out of it. And it's having all those key facts and things that you can say, like somebody was telling me today, Mikey, saying, I conditionally accept, subject to proof of claim, that there's a law that I have to stand under legislation. or I conditionally accept. However, the party I'm here to represent has no confidence in the legal system, in the judiciary. What can they say? That's why I'm standing for on their behalf, because they have no confidence in the judiciary. He has to allow it to go ahead.
So you get right of audience?
Sorry?
You get right
The right of audience. You see, what I learned from the other day, when he chucked me off at the back, was that he was impartial, that he was bigoted, that he was biased, that he was breaching the equal rights, and that he was breaching the Human Rights Act.
Acting without integrity.
Out of integrity. And without integrity, nothing works.
That's right.
And the realisation I got from that was that he's in on it. Because we were going for a hearing, and we're putting an end to for the day before, which should be heard the same day. They had orchestrated it so that while we were in court, the bailiff was at the house, kicking and smashing the door in. So there wasn't the right of relief to a remedy. They'd orchestrated and colluded to do it. But the bottom line was, poor old Raymond at the back there, 70 years old, is evicted. Now they're not allowed to evict a pensioner, especially for bedroom tax. Right? And this is going on all the time, as you all know, we're all coming up against this crap. Of course we're fighting it. And, hopefully, Raymond will be reinstated. Next.
Would you say we're chasing our tails going through this whole judicial process? From my perspective is that we should take issue with the Lord Chancellor Gove and maybe issue proceedings against him, since he's responsible for all the judges that are failing to act honourably. What say you?
Yeah, I agree with you totally. The question is, how are you going to do it? You see?
Issue proceedings.
Yeah, issue proceedings, how? You see, you can say a class action.
Yeah.
A class action doesn't exist anymore. Okay? What they've done, they've changed the class action and they call it a group action. If you go into a class action, they can say it's fraud. It's like people going in and saying, I want a common law court. A common law court doesn't exist. It's a court of common law, not a common law court. You've got to get that right. I want a court of common law. Yeah? And I've lost it.
You're talking about pursuing the Lord Chancellor.
You're pursuing the Lord Chancellor. Look, see, the thing is, before it gets to the Lord Chancellor, you've got to get it up to, there's a process, through the courts to the MP won't get involved, so then you've got to get it into select committee, and ICE, right, ICE, independent case evidence stuff, right? I mean, my colleague, he's been at it, 12 years, he's finally got in, Phil, to the select committee, and he found out that it's either Morgan Stanley or one of those bankers set up Job Centre Plus. And in administering Job Centre Plus, they decided that everybody would get £60 a week or something on employment. But they didn't tell you that they were siphoning off £30 a week of yours for their administration fee. So he's brought all this to account. He's got 568 complaints about it. It's into select committees. They're investigating at the moment. Spoke to them yesterday. Oh, we can't speak to you. We're under investigation. And what's going to happen is that once it's cleared, this could turn into the new Watergate. DWP, 7 of the directors have resigned over it.
How did you find out about that £30 fee?
it's good research. You know, he knows his stuff, knows where to look, knows where to follow the money. Read the DWP regulations, and did you know if you go in there and you say, oh, I'd like the opt-out form, please. Now the opt-out form is a form that says you do not wish to be part of the new corporate regulators and their regulations. But of course they won't tell you.
You must
And
also ask for, I'm here and I exercise the rights of
grandfather rights are rights that existed before the corporations got their dirty little fingers involved. And they can't override them. However, you must state your claim that you want grandfather rights and you want the opt-out form.
Who do you ask? The DWP, did you say?
No, down at the job centre for signing on.
Okay.
Right, I want the opt-out form.
If you're not signing on, you just go and ask for it as well.
Well, what would be the purpose?
Well, no, if you're not signing on and you're not working,
Yeah.
you choose not to.
Yeah, you could do, yeah, I suppose.
Would the opt-out form enable you to not be subject then to all
Not be subject to all their regulation and all that stuff coming in, yeah.
So would you then, if you've opted out, have your national insurance stamp still, the contributions being made? Because those are part of the grandfathering rights, aren't they?
Correct. They're not part of the
Yeah.
other party. Anyway, this ruling, which is now in select committee, what it means is that once it's cleared, 2 to 3 million people are going to have to be refunded £30 a week for the last 3 years.
Wow.
Right? Anyway, that's what's going on. A few of the bits. Sorry? Yeah. But I mean, what's on the plate at the moment is Brexit.
Yeah.
You know, do we stay in, do we stay out? Well, there is a story going on that if you vote to go out, you automatically vote for TTIP, Transatlantic Agreement. You know? It's all dirty tricks and strokes. I mean, I really recommend everybody to watch Brexit the movie. It's only about an hour, but really worth watching before you make a decision if you're involved in that electoral process. However, you know, as I say, it's, you know, just a bunch of bureaucrats. Nobody knows who they are. You know, stripping everybody of sovereignty. They want control of the EBS, European Bank System, and they want to remain with impunity, that they can't be prosecuted, even if they screw up managing 700 billion. Hello? You know, what's happened to this accountability? Where is the accountability? If there's no accountability, who do you hold liable? No? And whoever you're dealing with, you've got to say, I want it signed, I want it sealed, I want to know who's liable, who's going to be accountable. Otherwise, your paperwork has no accountability.
Insurance?
Sorry?
Insurance? That's what you're going to put it? The insurance?
The indemnity, you mean?
Yeah, whatever. They're going to put it to your insurance if you make a scam.
Yeah, well, who am I going to bring my counterclaims against? It's like when you go into a courtroom, you want to go in for ratification of commencement. I was in there once and I said to the judge, who are you, sir? He said, no, who are you? I said, well, given that a name is a noun and a noun is for an item, I'm not an item, I'm a living soul. For the purpose of this meeting, you can call me sir. And I said, and what shall I call you? He says, you can call me sir as well. I said, thank you, sir. And who do you work for? He says, you don't need to worry about that. I've got the authority. Anyway, I won the case and it went on. However, another time I went in, I did the same thing again. The judge told me his name. And the Crown Prosecution was there. I said, who are you, sir? He says, I am from the Crown Prosecution Service. I said, really? And who do you work for? Do you work for the Crown Temple or you work for the Crown Monarchy? He goes, I don't know. I said, well, if you don't know who you work for, sir, I bid you good day. You've got no locus standi in here. And out he went, bang. I moved for dismissal. None attendance by the plaintiff.
I vote you become the judge.
Yeah. But you've got to get over the fear. You know, the false evidence appearing real. You've got to get out of that one. You know, and it's a game. Don't go in to win, don't go in to lose. If you go in to win, you're going to be attached to winning, and your unfulfilled expectation is going to smack you in the face. And you're going to come out of there seriously upset. So look at it as a gift from the universe. You know? Is it supposed to be this way? Who am I to argue with the universe's plans for me? And as you know, from every adversity comes a greater equivalent. It's a question of how you structure it. Reinvent the meaning you put on it. Don't be attached. If you get attached to it looking a particular way, you're going to end up in upset. Then you're going to go into stress, breakdown. You know, I mean, this stuff sucks the energy out of you. You know what it's like. I don't think, you know, anybody who's had direct experience of it, it just sucks the life energy out of you. You can't afford to get into that. You've got to stay as a creator of circumstances and focused on the ball. You know, like this friend of mine, he was focused on the gate. The gate wasn't the issue, it's the trespass. Just like the council tax. The council tax is a trespass into my estate. Right? I exercise the right of self-determination. I exercise the right of a private life. If you're coming over my easement asking how many people are living in my building or my flat, you're trespassing over the easement before we even go there with the council tax. You know, let's answer that one first.
Is that what you just said? Does that apply to your own property?
Sorry?
I say own property. Is that for rental accommodation? You just said.
If you're asking me details of what goes on over my easement, past my front door, you're interfering with my private life.
Put a notice, that's it.
Are you not?
Whether it's private or public.
Anywhere. I'm the one with possession.
Your right of occupation doesn't matter whether it's through tenancy or through...
You know, it's like me asking you what underwear you're wearing. Yeah, same thing. That you're trespassing into my estate. And you've got to get the difference between Mr. John Smith and John of the Smith family. It's John of the Smith family that's the executor of your estate that chooses when you're going to the loo, when you're going to eat, what you're going to wear. Right? Practicing on behalf of Mr. John Smith in the Sea of Commerce. And you've got to disentangle yourself from this delusion that you are this ID.
Well,
You know, and taking it as a personal attack on you. It's not. They're just a bunch of arseholes that don't know any better. You know?
we'll get a template from Mark. Access denied.
Denial of access.
Did I have access?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Put up the
It's on the Get Out of Debt Free website.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, somebody said to me the other day, legal, well, we all know, anybody doesn't know the difference between lawful and legal? You all know, do you? Legal is undoing God's law. And then they said to me, you know what's a good thing to say to a judge now? And this was Ines here at the back. Or did I tell you? I can't remember. When he says to you, The case has no merit.
Yeah, that's the one that kills people.
That's the gem they love using.
Yeah, yeah.
I conditionally accept what you say, sir, subject to proof of claim that you have authority over a human rights judge of the European Union. Bang.
Nice one.
And that's a lot of the things I'm writing up for the seminar. And, you know, I'm not saying that these angles are mine. You know, I'm not saying that I'm plagiarising them. All I'm saying is I've learnt them and it's took a hell of a lot of, you know, digging a lot of dirt to get the nuggets. And, you know, we're all here willing to share them with each other. And the more of us that are enlightened to this, the stronger we become, you know, against this, you know. Simply that I think we're all at the stage of enough is enough.
Absolutely.
You know. Yeah.
What's your feelings about utility bills, gas, electricity, water?
Okay.
That been handed
What I suggest everybody does here, as a choice, of course, go and buy yourself a copy of the Oxford Dictionary of Law. I have learnt so much from that. You cannot believe. And one of the specific clauses that I came up with, and remember it's endorsed by the Oxford School of Law, Oxford University of Law, where they're all educated, therefore already endorsed. And if you look under abstraction of water, it says under abstraction of water that a party, person, man, human, may extract water from a river or other source, hello, I'll repeat that, or other source to the maximum of 20 cubic meters a day, which is the equivalent of what?
2,000 liters.
Yeah, I can't work that one out, but how many baths would 20 cubic litres be? 10 baths a day? Now, is there any single person in this room that can put their hand up and honestly say that they use 20 cubic metres of water a day? No. Therefore, why are you charging me water?
Valid.
Okay? Oxford Dictionary of Law. In my area, for example, they've been charging 9,000 people water for the last 15 years. I think you're technically bankrupt. Now, are we going to talk business, or would you like me to issue a liquidation order?
So that could be a letter then, what you're saying, in a notice, perhaps.
Yeah. You know, abstraction of water. However, in that dictionary, there are loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of gems that you never knew existed.
You need to know that they're there to go to.
But great, if you can't sleep, you're an insomniac, right? Get yourself a copy of it. No, but seriously, I mean, you get glued to it. There's so many good angles that you never thought, yes. And then, you know, after you've read a lot of it, you've programmed your head and it starts computing for you, putting A, B, C, D, oh yes, here we go. Together. And it's a great shortcut to getting your clarity around how you want to work the claim.
Would you do that for gas as well then, and electricity? I know.
Look, personally, I've seen people do the electricity, I've seen people do the gas. And I'll be quite honest with you, pay Caesar what belongs to Caesar. You can get involved in a pathetic bill for 90 quid. Meanwhile, your life's going out the window with a drama for the sake of 90 quid. The amount of grief you can bring upon yourself, where I am at the moment, okay? I'm questioning the service charges. I've been paying for Heating for 6 months in the summer, well, I don't want heating. I've been to court with them, they stitched me up for £5 grand, I'm still fighting. Issuing false statements into the court and false documents in order to acquire a false instrument. Elman versus Mears. Judge didn't even see my evidence. Elman versus Mears, 1940, evidence presented to the judicial chair that is ignored by the judicial chair results in a void order and imposes costs. Elman versus Mears, 1940. And the fight still goes on because I'm paying 800% more than market rate for electricity. It just so turns out the council didn't even have a licence to sell electricity. Meanwhile, they'd lost my file in the court and some legislation has suddenly been passed that the council can now sell electricity. Answer to your question, when this movement started a few years ago, they were all doing A for V and knocking out electricity bills and all that. The aggro it caused, it closed a lot of doors for everybody. And, you know, do you really want to go there and waste your life on for 90 quid or 100 quid? Because you could be involved in a massive drama. Focus on things that are important for you. You know, not the peanuts of life. Don't sweat the small stuff. You know, it's not worth it. Personally, that's my personal opinion. There's bigger fish to fry and more important things to get on with within this movement for and on behalf of everybody. Okay? Yeah. Well done.
Debt Free TV, in association with GetOutOfDebtFree.org.